Okay, here's a brief introduction on the most basic element of historical writing that I'll teach you, and that is how to write a good sentence. This is the kind of most fundamental building block of everything you do. DBQs, LEQs, SAQs is writing a good, crisp sentence. And the activity that we'll do for that is a 50-word sentence. And I'll talk about that in a second. I have these kind of old school basketball things throughout because, like a sport, like an instrument, writing is something that takes practice. You got to practice, practice, practice. And like a sport, like an instrument, there's things that when you first start doing it, you're told to do. So I remember when I was like a little kid learning how to play basketball, like when you shoot a free throw, there's like a little nail at the top of the right key. You put your foot where the little nail is, line up. Keep your elbow in, you follow through with your wrist, kind of things like that, that you learn it when you're young. And the same thing with instruments, with any sport. There's these kind of fundamentals you learn when you're young, and then you don't think about them anymore. If you continue on with the activity, you don't think about it. It becomes muscle memory. So a lot of the way that I like to think about writing is similar. There's little things that we need to learn and be very deliberate when we're learning them at first. And then hopefully through the course of this year in practice and through repetition, it becomes muscle memory. So you don't have to think about how to write a crisp sentence. You don't have to think about the vocabulary you're using and making sure that it's the most accurate kind of vocabulary because it becomes second nature. Right now, of course, your game will be higher at that point. You'll be doing different things, different challenges. But let's start off with the most fundamental stuff here, writing. I have this little meme. It might crash actually. Might crash my PowerPoint, and it does frequently. It doesn't like the GIF, but you get it. Like listen to what I'm saying, because if you do what I'm telling you, you'll be a good historical writer. You can do whatever you want. You can like not do it. Some people are really kind of, recalcitrant, resistant to doing it. But if you do the stuff I'm telling you, you'll be better. And this is the most basic thing. The 50-word sentence is the most basic thing you can do. Okay, what is it? The point of a 50-word sentence is for you to get to the point in 50 words. So this is called a 50-word sentence that is literal. It is 50 words. Now, if you use, depending on how you do word count in a Google Doc or Word, if you have dates, sometimes you'll come in at 52 words if you have two dates, or 51 words if you have one. There's a way that you can say, does your word count numbers, or does it not count numbers? Okay, if you have 2 years, you might get to 52 words, but you got 50 words in that sentence. It is 50 words, not 49, not 53, not 47. It is 50 words. How many sentences do you think it is? It's one sentence. It's literally a 50-word sentence. This is the first time you've done this. A bunch of you are going to get really bad grades on it because you're going to have 2 sentences or 3 sentences. And you can say, well, I didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? It's called a 50-word sentence. Or you're going to have 75 words. You can go, well, I didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? It's a 50-word sentence. Get to the point. 50 words is not a lot of words, right? So you need to get to the point quickly, right? What do you need in a good 50-word sentence? You need the author's name. Sometimes you don't have an author's name. What do you do then? You got to think about it. How can you be as accurate as you can be? An anonymous letter published in 1780. Maybe that's good enough. You need to gesture to who made this thing, right? In an unsigned declaration, right? Something like that, a gesture towards it. But ideally, you have the author's name. You'll have a date, right? Maybe a month, maybe it's a year, maybe you have the month and year. Do you need all of that? You only got 50 words. So do you really need to say it was in April of 1865? Maybe you don't. Maybe you can just say 1865, right? What is it? Is it a letter? Is it a telegram? Is it a painting? Is it a book? You name it, right? Whatever. A poster, a photograph. What is it? And then what does it say? What does it do? What does it say? And this is where the prompt will be different depending on the 50-word sentence. Why do I make you do this? It forces you to be a better writer. You really have to think about what is the best word to use. What is the most accurate word? What is the most descriptive word? Where is the fluff or the filler in my sentence? How do I make my sentence more lean, more streamlined? Or how can maybe my sentence is too small. Where can I add, where do I need to add more detail to make the sentence better, more accurate, more descriptive? And it forces you to think about these details. What do I call this thing? Who is the author? What should I just say their last name? If it's something like, Washington or Lincoln, maybe you can just say the last name. But, if it's Frederick Douglass, do you say Frederick Douglass? Do you just say Douglass? You certainly don't say Frederick, unless you know him. But you got to think about this. Some people, when they're writing, they'll use first names. It's weird. Like, you don't know that person. It forces you to do this stuff. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples now. And in these examples, these are real student examples from the past, from past years. And none of them are perfect, but they're pretty good, right? But the main thing is they're all 50 words, and they fill the brief insofar as they have an author, they have a doc type, they have a year, and then they explain what the document is. A lot of 50-word sentences I give you will be 2 documents, and you'll have to compare them. So you have to think about how is this sentence going to kind of hitch from the first part. Again, 1 sentence. You can't have 2 sentences, right? Students will always start abusing semicolons, but like you're probably using it improperly, right? Try to use proper grammar here, right? But there's probably going to be a however, 1 word. On the other hand, right? So which one are you going to use? But, 1 word, simple word. And then there's some signposting. So let me show you these examples here. Whereas Washington's letter to General Knox, so that's what it is. We got the author, we got the thing, 1786. Now you don't know this history yet, but it doesn't matter, right? You get it. Characterizes the rebellion as an incident that, quote, is notwithstanding the boasted virtues of America, end quote, and showcases human, quote, corruption and depravity, comma, Jefferson's letter to Madison, 1787, sees it as a healthy occurrence that is beneficial in the course of development of a newly born nation. This is good. This is fine. You don't need quotes always. It's better to summarize a document, but you get here, right? Whereas A, comma, B. That makes sense, right? It makes sense the sentence structure makes sense. They got the authors, they got the years. That's a fine thing to do. Just put the years, right? Put them in brackets. That's fine. Get it in there. Don't forget it. Got the author, yep, got the doc type, got the year. The purpose is there. There's some good signposting. The signposting is just to give you proper sentence structure. Here's another example. Regarding Shays' rebellion, now this I like because it's more detailed. In the previous one, if I go back here, you go, well, what rebellion? You have to write a sentence as if you wrote it down on a piece of paper and you dropped it out in the street and someone picked it up and started reading it, they'd know what you were talking about if they were an informed reader. Or with this, we see whereas Washington's letter to General Knox characterizes the rebellion. What rebellion? The Whiskey Rebellion? Right? What Bacon's Rebellion? We don't know. So this next one is better because it gives you more detail. Regarding Shays' Rebellion, signposting, George Washington, author, shows his dismay. Ooh, dismay, does he? That farmers rebelled through his letter to Henry Knox. Now, the grammar here is a little weird because it makes it seem as though the farmers are rebelling through the letter to Henry Knox, like they're like breaking through the letter. So I'm being pedantic here, but this is a 50-word sentence assignment, so it's highlights pedantry. That's the point, right? So not great on the grammar, but you got the author, you got the doc type, you got a year. As he believes America is a utopia. Oh, wow, does he? While, signposting, Thomas Jefferson is nonchalant. It's all good. Nonchalant Jefferson. Acknowledging the importance of occasional rebellions in his letter to James Madison. So again, they did the same thing with the grammar here. Acknowledging the importance of occasional rebellions in his letter to James Madison. They're like in the letter, rebelling. I'm being pedant. It's pedantry, but it matters. The grammar's not quite as tight as it could be. Comma, and suggesting that the rebels shouldn't be punished harshly. Though I really dislike the word harsh. I would like you to never use it. It's abused. It's an overused word. So this is not my favorite, but in terms of fulfilling the brief, they got the author, they got the doc type, they got the year, they got the purpose. But if this was yours and we were talking about it, I would say what I just said. I'd want you to polish up the grammar a bit here because it's a little bit funky, right? You just kind of move some things around, right? Move your descriptors in front and move the descriptions to the back. Here's a third one. Again, none of these are perfect. In his 1787 letter, comma, Washington displays fear because of the rebellion. Okay, this is really good. I'd like it to say Shays' Rebellion, but I like the sentence structure here. In his 1786 letter, we got it. It's a letter. Doesn't say to whom, but maybe it doesn't matter. The previous ones, right? This one doesn't say to whom. The first one does say to whom. Does it matter? Maybe it doesn't. You got a finite amount of space for these 50 words. Like maybe you don't need to say it's to General Knox. Maybe don't say it. Displays fear because of the rebellion, believing that America may be inadequate to self-rule without politically experienced Britain, comma, while Jefferson, just a month later, ooh, someone paid attention to details. One is from 1786, one is from 1787. It makes it seem as though they're a year apart. They're not. One is from December 1786, one is from January 1787. So look, just that information was right there. Someone just looked and they were thinking critically and they said, wait a minute, this is a different year, but it's just a month apart. Now the sentence pulls us in. We go, oh, just a month later? What happened? What did he say? It was only a month later, right? Really good attention to detail there. Really good. Expresses an appreciation of the rebellion, believing it is an inevitable part of politics and an indicator of an effective democracy. This is almost perfect. The only fault I would say is that it doesn't say Shays' Rebellion. I'd like it to say Shays' Rebellion. Okay? 50 words. All of these are 50 words. Exactly 50 words, right? Okay, last thing. Why am I making you do this? I want to be really explicit because everything that I do when I talk about writing, when I teach you writing, it all connects. There's no pieces that don't fit together. Right? It's a puzzle and every piece matters. So this is the first fundamental piece. Why am I making you do this? Good historical writing does a few things. It's concise. What doesn't it have? No flowery prose. This isn't creative writing. No dramatic narrative. Since the beginning of time. No, don't. Ever. No. Right? No big bold claims. No sloppy, inaccurate language. We want precision, precision, precision. You got a vocabulary? Use it, right? Think about what is the best word here. What is the best? How can I really describe the sentiment in this passage? How can I really use my vocabulary? Don't just look up synonyms. Use it. Think of it. Learn it. Use it. Okay. It doesn't have those things. What does it do? It needs to have clear, concise language, right? Think about your language. Don't, you really got no garbage words, no garbage sentences. Everything needs to count. It needs to have an argument that's rooted in evidence. How do you present that evidence? With as much detail as possible. This is the year this thing happened. This is who did it. This is what they're arguing. Sometimes you have limited information. You don't know what the author is. You don't know what the year is. You have to guess. That's where it gets a little bit like 201, 301 level. The first things we're going to do are very 101 level, right? So that's the exercise that you're going to do. That is the building block of good historical writing, which is to say clear sentence structure, good language, good vocabulary, clear argumentation, good grammar. And that's what we're going to work on with a 50-word sentence. Step one of how to write good.